Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran this morning. I've got to have my coffee going on this first thing this morning. I hope everyone is having a blessed day today. It is Wednesday, and I'm really excited for Wednesdays because on Wednesdays at 10 Eastern Time, we go over with the wonderful people at Behind the Service podcast, and we have coffee and conversation and collaboration. So, a few things this morning before we get started in happiness in your relationship and what defines happiness in your relationship is we are going to just kind of bring you up to speed. I had a meeting yesterday to get our VA stories heard, and we've made the commitment now that we're taking them to Congress. So, and just later today, we will be putting out ways to get your stories, even if you have submitted them before, kind of in a hurry with issues with the VA. I'm going to ask for some very specific things. Good morning, Shannon. I'm going to ask for some very specific things, and they're going to go to a very specific email. I have a research team who is coming on board that's going to be able to pull demographics for us. Like, is it to a location? Is it rural versus whatever? Are they PTSD related? Are they medical related? But we're gonna get heard. Um, we have a target date. We're gonna do a media blast. So this is your opportunity to get your voices heard and your veterans' voices heard. And I'm super excited that we'll be able to do that. Good morning, BJ. That we'll be able to do that going forward. So that will be, the email will be there. As soon as this video ends, I've got to go set up the new email, and that will be there. It will be VA stories at lovingmyveteran.com, and it is imperative that those stories get here. We have a very short window to compile all of this information, but the platform has been set, and we have been set to move forward, and we need to get this done. So, enough of that. Happiness in your relationship. Yesterday we talked about learning to be happy for ourselves, finding our bubble, choosing happiness, keeping unhappy out of our bubble. How do you do that? You know, we have our own happiness bubble, our own happiness boundary, and utilizing and protecting our happiness boundary is essential to what we do. Now, being happy with ourselves is great, but most of us are here because we want to have that happy, healthy, loving relationship with our veteran. And learning to find that is hard. It's not an easy task. It is not an easy task moving forward. But I also need you to understand that it's not an easy task, period. Do you know how many relationships fail? Now, granted, veteran and military statistics are higher than most, although the fastest growing group of divorces and relationship failure are in people over 50 because they found out that they fell in love, they got focused on raising their kids and their family, they became empty nesters, and they had nothing to keep them in common again. So that is actually one of the fastest growing groups. And I think that's what we find. You know, we fell in love, it started out whatever, and then just the day to day, the chipping away at our strength from the PTSD and from our life issues and from all the things that go on. And then the anger, of course, and the bitterness, and all that falls into play. That makes us have an unhappy relationship. And we don't even have much of a relationship anymore. I've heard it defined, and I can even say this. You become like roommates. There's times that you feel like they're your roommate or they're your child, and we're caring for and we're giving, but we're not getting. And so the happiness in our bubble goes away. Yay! I'm so excited that her happiness bubble was growing, and I am so excited. Sue, that is wonderful. Finding your happiness bubble is so important. And now we're going to find our happiness bubbles in our relationship. Again, my happiness bubble in my relationship is not going to be your happiness bubble in your relationship. We all have different things that make us happy. So how do we grow that bubble? How do we take our personal happiness bubble and get spread that out so that we still have to maintain our personal happiness bubble, but now we need to know where our happiness is in that relationship. Now, this is going to be a hard point for you, for all of us. It was very hard for me. What makes you happy in your relationship? And then you're going to hear and say, nothing. And that may be true today. We may be drowning so much that nothing in our relationship is happy the way we see it, the way we perceive it. Nothing at this moment is happy. And that's okay. All right? I love you. The key is the greatest thing ever. Happiness is continuous work and progress, and it takes effort. And I'm going to use her story. I'd already thought about using your story. But Nikia's story, it was in her Ponder Points, and it was probably one of the most moving Ponder Points I ever read. And that was when her and Richard went to a Christmas thing to see a live nativity, and she got there and realized that Richard had to go, it was out in the middle of the field, and they had to go like on a hayride to get there. Well, Richard's physical disabilities made it difficult, but she found a way to get him there. And I think about it and I can picture this. I can picture this live nativity scene behind her, and Richard sitting on the hay bale, and her next to Richard, and them singing Silent Night together. Okay, that was in her happiness bubble relationship-wise. But that's not the same. That event 15 years ago would not have been as achieving as this happiness bubble was this Christmas. Okay? When he could have climbed up in the hayride himself, and they could have gone, and they may have still sang Silent Night, but it wouldn't have been as meaningful as it was this Christmas. So your happiness bubble changes. Everything we do is fluid. It changes. So now you got to find out what will make you happy in your relationship. What makes you happy in that? And all of ours are different. And I hear people say, well, I'd be happy if we didn't argue. Well, yay, okay, so would I. We do it. Did it yesterday. We do it. And are we going to argue? Yes. Every couple argues. It happens. So now get more specific. Get more specific. What will make you happy? What in your relationship will make you happy? What is the stuff that makes you happy? You know, I take things for granted, and I think we all do. But do you know that every single morning before I do walking in my shoes, when I go in to get a shower because I've done my stuff I had to do this morning, when I go in to get a shower, do you know every single morning Carl comes in, makes me fresh coffee, makes sure I have my cigarettes, brings me fresh coffee, and gets everything all set up for me before I ever get out here to sit down and do this. Y'all, that is a happy moment in our relationship. That is a happy moment in our relationship. But that moment is based on something much bigger. And this is where we're going to go today. We're going to get in depth on these going forward. But your happy moments come from respect. That was pure respect for me. To make sure that I have coffee and that all my little stuff is laid out, my notes, my stuff that I have to have, to make sure all of that is done, that is respect. So one of your happy moments are built on respect. Part of your happiness in that relationship is built on respect. Now we're going to get to dealing with each part of this as we go through this month. The next thing is in your happy moments are built on love. Now, some people think that love is physical. Some people think that love is emotional. So that is your definition. You're in your partner's definition of love. What is love for you? So your next happiness moment in your relationship is built on love. The next one is communication. If you can't communicate effectively, you're not going to have a good relationship. And I'm going to give you an example. I had a massive meeting yesterday morning. Right? I was stressed. I was freaked out about this meeting. I just knew that I had to have it right. It was an important meeting. And God loved Carl. When we got done, we're talking and I'm talking to my team and saying, okay, this is where we need to go. This is our big focus. Morning, Marianne. This is our big focus. This is where we need to go. I didn't feel good. There's just days that I can't eat certain things because of something I had done in the past. So Carl, God love him, decides to fix me lunch. And I have this obsession with ramen noodles. Okay, I love ramen noodles. And in the past, I've been make it like a Chinese thing where I put some hamburger and some broccoli and some mushrooms in it, and I love it. Well, I had a hard time swallowing yesterday just because of anxiety. So Carl, God love him, while I'm doing all this, goes and makes me ramen. And he's got my little noodles. And then in another bowl, he has the broccoli and the mushrooms and the beef and the soy sauce. And he's really worried to make sure that I have enough soy sauce because we were almost out. And he's got all this stuff going on. And I get there to go eat, okay? And I don't want it. I don't want it. I wanted the ramen and I like the broccoli, but I didn't want the rest of it, and I don't want it. And so I kind of just look at him and I'm like, oh, okay. And I fix the noodles and then I fix the broccoli on the side. And he's like, but I thought you wanted it. And I'm like, I never said that. But you like that. But I never said I wanted it. That was pure communication. That took that moment of happiness that could have been a great moment because he went above and beyond to fix me lunch because he knew I was busy. Right? That could have been, instead of me coming in and saying, oh my gosh, honey, this looks wonderful, but I'm having, my anxiety's up and I'm having a hard time swallowing, I'm just going to eat the ramen and the broccoli. Okay, that little verbiage could have made all the difference in the world, but that isn't what came out of my mouth. So communication is important in building a healthy relationship. And there's lots of deeper communication issues, but if you can fix these little ones, the rest of them will fall into place. That was just horrible communication on my part. The man fixed me lunch, and I was like, I don't want this. That was really kind of ugly. I know, Sonny, he's a sweet man, and I should have just sucked it up and ate it, but that's okay. Trust. Your healthy relationship is going to be built on trust. And I know for a lot of us, that is hard. Trust is a hard thing to get. Trust is a hard thing to give. And it's not just that you don't trust your veteran. It's not just that you don't trust your partner. You come with baggage. You come with baggage. And from those of us that had a bad marriage before, or a trust issue in our marriage before, or a trust issue in our past, we are less likely to trust. Okay? So that already focuses in. You have to have trust in this relationship. Well, when I already have trust issues, and not with Carl, I brought them to the table. I think I had my own suitcase. Nope, I have one of them steamer chests, that they used to take like in the Titanic. I had a steamer chest full of not trust. Okay? So I didn't even have like its own suitcase. It had its own steamer chest of non-trust. So that just starts playing in your mind with everything that happens. So you have to learn to let that open up. And all of those things will come together to build you your happy, healthy relationship. Your personal happiness in your bubble. The rest of this stuff, because they have their bubble, the rest of this stuff is that overlap that we talked about yesterday, that overlap of the bubbles. Now, let's talk specifically about PTSD, and we will get into these topics in way more detail, probably one every day, but let's talk about respect. The only way to get respect is to give respect. The only way to get respect is to give respect. So, here we are. We're angry, we're tired, we're bitter, we demean people because of all these things. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. That's just the feelings that happen. How much respect are we giving? So when we don't give it, we're not getting it. Right? So just understand that. When we don't give it, we're not getting it. Same thing applies to them now. I understand. They have to give respect to get respect. It's a two-way street. But somebody has to start that ball in motion. Because if you don't, it's just like standing there outside of your car saying, who's got the keys? Well, I don't have the keys. Do you have them? No, I don't have them. Do you have them? I don't have them. Do you have them? And nobody walks inside to get the keys. Somebody has to make that effort first. So if we start giving it, we'll get it. And then when we get it, when we're getting respect, that means they're giving it to us. So see how that's going to slowly start to work, and it takes time. And we're going to really get into that topic later. Love. I love that man with every inch of my being. I love him with every inch of my being. There are moments that I don't like him very much. But those moments do not make me love him any less. I still love him. There's a difference in love and like. For crying out loud, if you were in a relationship with everybody you liked, you'd be living in a commune somewhere. But that's not what happens. I love him with every inch of my being, and there are moments I don't like him, and I can assure you there are moments he does not like me either. And that's okay, and you have to accept that. It's okay that they can infuriate you, or you can infuriate them enough that you don't like them at that moment. And you know what I found yesterday? Is that a lot of my not liking him yesterday was because I was in a mood. Right? So I'm in this mood, and this mood's going on, and I have all this stress going on, and I mean, that's on me, it's not on him. And I'm like, and just everything he said, I took the wrong way. So I didn't quite like me enough, and he drove me nuts and was on my last nerve, and I wasn't sure I liked him. And then when I thought about it when I got up this morning, I'm like, I bet he didn't like me at all yesterday either. But we still love each other. And so you have to understand that not liking is okay. It's acceptable. I don't like coconut anything. I don't like the texture of coconut anything. But it doesn't mean people who like coconut cake are bad. I can still love people who like coconut cake. I just don't. And that's okay. So I still love cake. I just don't like coconut cake. So keep that in mind when you talk about love. Communication. We can talk about communication. We could probably start a series on communication that started January 1st and run through December 31st and never get all the communication skills we need out. But let's talk about communication. And this is something a lot of us don't want to hear. A lot of us don't want to talk about. I know I didn't in the beginning. We have to understand the military mindset of communication. The military mindset of communication. Nothing is sugar-coated. It is clear, concise, and direct. Nothing is sugar-coated. Clear, concise, and direct. Okay? So Here's a morning, they're going to go out and do their thing. Even in basic training, they're going to go out and do their thing. It is 20 degrees and they're going to go crawl through the mud. Right? Do you think they like to hear that? Do you think when they wake up at 5:30 in the morning, they're going to want to be told, get your bag, get your stuff, we going to go on a thing, and it's 20 degrees outside and we're going to go crawl through the mud for the next 6 hours? Do you think they like that? Do you think anybody cared about their feelings? They didn't wake up and say, I know this is going to be rough for y'all today, but it's 20 degrees outside and it's raining and we're going to go. No, they're like, get your ass up, get dressed, let's go, and now we're going. And they didn't give them any sugarcoating. There was no why. When they went in combat, it's you're going to go do this, and there was no why. It was clear, concise directive. We can't understand why they don't talk to us in a sugar-coated manner, because they don't. Clear, concise directive. That's what they're taught. That's what they listen to. That's the way they were bred to communicate or programmed to communicate. And they do that because they don't have time for fluff. I want fluff. I want you, when you're going to tell me that I'm a bitch, I want you to say, sweetheart, you look amazing. And you do all of these great things. But you were a little bitchy yesterday. That's what I want. That ain't what I get. I get, you had a knee-jerk reaction and you were a bitch. That's what I get. But that's the truth. We said the same thing. They just don't sugarcoat. They don't sugarcoat when they talk to you, and they don't take sugarcoating well. Because if they get to the, oh, sweetheart, you're just so amazing and you're so wonderful. Okay, amazing, wonderful. Did we give them 2 instructions at that point? 2 directives at that point? 2 things to think about? Baby, you're amazing and you're wonderful. But you didn't do this. They didn't hear the number 3. It's too far down on the list. Remember their directives and how they're programmed. They don't hear, they heard amazing and wonderful, so no wonder they think they're not doing anything wrong. We tell them every day, I love you so much. When I start with Carl and he knows I'm in a mood and I'm like, honey, I love you more than anything in this world. He says, cut to the chase, what did I do? Stop sugarcoating things. He'll tell me that, and I think it's funny because he tells me I'm sugarcoating. So we know that communication is something that we have to work on that nobody does well. Just the way they're programmed. Trust. Y'all understand that trust is one of the biggest things for them to get over. Trust. Especially when you start to see the world as it is today. These guys weren't asked, they were ordered to do stuff that they knew was wrong morally, that they didn't understand, that they didn't like what they were doing. They did it because they were told to, but they don't have a whole lot of trust about it. These men and women were ordered to do things that they knew were morally wrong. They don't have a lot of trust. Then you take these guys that signed up, sworn to protect this country, did it with honor, did the things they were told were morally wrong. They get home and they're told when they go in and they're their little recruiter and they're like, hey, and when you get out, you know, the VA will always be here for you, da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, okay. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Now they've got like this number stumped on their head that says your life doesn't matter, boom, move on. You're just a number, boom, move on. Carl actually described it as he felt like he was a prisoner. He had a serial number and he didn't matter. It was like being a prisoner. So where do you think that trust comes from? They swore to protect a country and a constitution. That was their commitment. And in return, they were going to be respected and they were going to be taken care of from the VA. And they're not getting it. So where do you think their trust went? That's something we got to overcome with them. They don't trust well. Go back to James, my friend's son. He was playing soccer with a little boy for months until the little boy one day walked into the camp with a soccer ball that was a bomb. How do you, when your trust is gone at the expense of a 7-year-old, they have trust issues. How many of our veterans have been in relationships where they've lost their loved one, that their wife or their husband has walked out and they've taken the kids and they've told the court that they're a monster, okay, because they have PTSD, and now they don't see their children. They don't have a lot of trust. And like Nikki says, once trust is damaged or lost, it takes a long, long time to rebuild. So you got this big picture of their trust issues, that they don't trust anyone, so they have to rebuild. And then they do something in the relationship that makes us not trust them, or we do something that makes them not trust us. And this divide gets huge. And we keep doing dumb little things. We all do it. We all do dumb little things that are like putting water on the seed that just blow the trust out of the water. But when you fix those 4 things and you work on those 4 things, you are going to have a happy, healthy, loving, growing relationship. And you don't have to fix them. You start working on them and they start growing and they start evolving. And you will realize that your respect for each other can change. And it'll when it starts, y'all, I'm telling you, this is like the weirdest thing ever. When that respect stuff starts, it's like a light bulb switches on, and all of a sudden you go from you're dumb, you're stupid, you're this, which is what we take, what we think we're hearing, right? And all of this to you're strong, you're empowering, I love you, you are. And you go from you need to you're bad to you're this to now you are. And that comes from that respect. It is amazing. Once that ball starts rolling, it moves on. Same thing in communication. Once you learn how to communicate, and you're not going to be standing there in the front yard for 20 minutes. Do I have the keys? No. Do you have the keys? No. Arguing over who's got the keys or doesn't have them. Somebody's going to step up to the plate and say, you know what? I'm going to grab the keys before we walk out the door. Okay. And you're going to go places. And that happens just like that once communication starts. Once you figure out how to get the communication to start, it's amazing. Lisa goes, any loss of the family hurts. Family was the rock that they anchored to. And you lose that, nothing is left. And that is true. That is so true. We don't realize how much sometimes we are part of what they have. We are their rock. They may not treat us that way all the time, but we are that rock. And all it is nobody is right or wrong in this situation. None of us are right or wrong. It's that we weren't given the skills. We don't have the skills to understand that our happiness is a direct control of us. I hear so many women say, he talks to me, he does this to me, he does that to me. You know what? Carl did that to me. Well, you need to do this better, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. That's what he said. You need to do this, and you need to do, and I'm thinking, oh, so I don't do it good enough? I mean, I had been beat up for so long, I just took what he said as, what, I'm not good enough? That isn't what he said. What he said was, you need to do this and you need to do that. And he didn't mean it that I wasn't good enough. He meant that if I'm going to grow, or this is going to get better, or this is going to get bigger, this is what needs to happen. right? That sugarcoating crap he didn't have. Whereas, like, when I type messages to our leadership people, and I'm like, y'all did a great job, and I'm uplifting. It's like this rah-rah speech, right? This is what we need to accomplish. This is what's happened. And it's like this little rah-rah speech. And it is, because I love them and I respect them and I want them to know that everything they do matters. Okay? I want them to know that what they're doing matters. The program to the military doesn't matter. I don't care. Just do it. It's like the Nike commercial. Just do it. So when you realize that and you start to see it differently, it's so different. And I know we've all heard the hurtful words. You're a bitch. You're this. You're that. I hate you. We've all heard them. That's nothing new. We've all heard them, and they've cut us to the core. But a lot of that, y'all gonna think I'm crazy when I say this, a lot of that is their frustration and not being able to communicate what is in their head and get it out. So anger comes out. Because most of the time, when they've had time to settle down, and it may not be that day, or it may not be that week, and it may not even be that month, but once they start getting good respect, and once they start being shown love, and once you have good communication that you initiate, all of a sudden they realize, ooh, I did things wrong. Look, I was perfect. Okay, I'm telling you, I was perfect when I got in this relationship. I didn't do anything wrong. Everything that went wrong in this relationship was Carl's fault. Everything. I'm just telling you now. And the more I go through it, the more I realize, ooh, I had a lot to do with that. I didn't put myself first. I didn't make a bubble to protect me first. I didn't worry about my happiness first. My happiness was going to come from somebody else. No, it's not your happiness. It's coming from you and not another soul. You will get, your relationship will become happier. Understand, there's always this division, and I think people screw this up from day one. I just like to sit down with these people, like in marriage counseling, from day one and say, there is always going to be you, there is always going to be them, him, and there's always going to be us. You have to keep the two individuals make the one. But if one part of this isn't happy, and this whole thing, the combined, will never be completely happy if that goes on. But if both of you are unhappy, if both of you don't know where happiness lies, if both of you don't know where your personal happiness is, you can't expect the union of the us to be happy. Ever. Work on your personal happiness. Your personal happiness will carry into your relationship happiness, which will in turn go back to them, and now we have a lot more happiness in our life. Are we going to have bad days? Yes. Are we going to have sad days? Yes. Are we going to have days that we're just not happy? Yes. Are we going to have days that we wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Yes. But you can't get stuck there. And that was eye-opening when I had to realize I was not perfect. That was eye-opening when I had to realize that. And when I had to realize that nobody else could make me happy except for me. Nobody. Except for me. Do I have happy moments with my children? Absolutely. Do I have happy moments with my mother? Absolutely. Do I have happy moments with my friends? Absolutely. But at the beginning and end of the day, the only person who is responsible for my happiness is me. And I have to go to bed understanding that I need to be happy with myself, and I have to wake up in the morning knowing that I have to be happy with myself, because if I'm not, I set the tone for the entire day. It's that simple. It sounds like it's hard, but it isn't. When you learn this, it's simple. You know, we had a bad situation in this group a couple of days ago, and it could have been really ugly. We didn't dwell on it. We freaking fixed it and we moved on, and then we realized it wasn't any of us. It was that situation. And we moved on. And we stayed happy. And we moved forward, and we were still able to give. And that's what it's about. So I know I've gone late. I'm going to wrap this up. We just have so much going on, and so many good things. Like I said, there's just so much. Don't forget Thursday night. Let's talk. Y'all, we have a great time. Um, if you want to be there, and maybe your spouse doesn't want to be there, don't be afraid to come. If you want to come to Let's Talk and not ever show your face and stay hidden behind your little screen and just listen for a while, we have a couple people who do that. Listen. You want to be part of it? Be part of it. We are a family here. That's what we are. We are a family. Mhm. We're a family. So y'all join us on Let's Talk Thursday night. We have so much more coming up and so much more that we have to do. We will be doing a podcast. It'll start later this month. I'm super excited. Um, Michelle Bailey and I you guys get to kind of sneak in on what our mornings are like, because we are so excited about having our mornings that we're going to podcast. And y'all be able to listen to us in the car or while you're cleaning the house, or just think we're nuts or crazy. But don't forget the amazing Let's Talk, because that's just wonderful. All right, y'all have a blessed day. We have a lot we have going on over here. If you need to schedule some one-on-one time, send me a message and we'll get all that straightened out, because we might need a few minutes of that. Have a blessed day, and I will talk to you later. I'm Stacy. This is Loving My Veteran, and we are walking in my shoes.